guys, I'm here with Fraser. You better go. I'm Fraser.
I'm Fraser. I'm technical director on Manowar Corsair.
And I've got to say, I'm very excited. Now, we've already done one interview where we've talked about the basics and what it's all about. Now, your job is, do you want to talk about what your job is?
So I'm overseeing the technical direction, the codes, all these crazy ideas about sailing through mists and fog and being jumped by sharks. I've got to make sure that actually happens in the game. So I need to make these things run on an actual real computer that exists these days and not in 100 years' time. So that's kind of my job.
Because we all want that computer.
Yeah. I mean, I think my PC at home, it's compared to my work laptop, it's kind of feeling that way a bit. It's quite a nice beefy machine, but we don't want everyone to have to need one of those.
So are you a big gamer yourself? Do you like your tabletop games?
Yes, I've played these things since probably about 8. So I used to be a big Epic fan. I love my Titans, but I always played Imperial Guard, and then my mum kept stepping on them. So
you liked Imperial Guards, and you're a big Titan fan. Do you own the Forge World Titans yet, or
no? Sadly not. I've got no room in the house for them yet.
Yeah. I've got to say, I had quite a few. I had 6 at one point, lots of Reavers and stuff like that laying around, and the cats kept destroying them, so they had to go in the end. Okay, so let's get back to the game. Okay, so we've established that you've probably got one of the most difficult parts of the jobs to do, which is overseeing the technical side of it. So what's been the hardest part for you to make sure it runs properly and smoothly?
Well, I guess big challenge was the size of the world. I mean, this thing's absolutely massive. We've got the continent from Kislev all the way around to Tilia, and having that fit in the game, it's been quite tricky. When we had to generate the whole thing for one thing. So with those various maps of the old world, these sort of zoomed out little tiny hand-drawn things, and we needed that as actual sort of proper terrain that you can sail about and see rugged coastlines on. So that was quite tricky to get in the game, and just hitting the limitations of the engine, because if we just strung that all together as one big Unity level, we're using Unity as our engine, then by the time you sailed from Kislev to Tilia, the physics would stop working, because floating point numbers would be
So with this game, is there any chance where you can go actually into the town, or is it mostly that you moor up and then there's a screen that takes you to trading and bits like that?
Yeah, so you dock at the ports and then it brings up menus. We had pondered running around the town, but we haven't quite got the budget for that. Maybe the next one.
Yeah. So for you, it's like the problems or issues are the coding side of it, where, for example, I disappear out of the world, or my ship all of a sudden becomes 20 times the size that it shouldn't be, sort of thing, and monsters are dwarfed and stuff like that. So when it comes to that sort of side of it, what elements are really difficult to maintain? Because fogs are, I should imagine, quite an issue.
Yeah. So the hardest bit is getting. So if you've got really high detail characters and you've got a really high detailed ship, and we've got 50 crew members on, we want these guys to look really nice when they're up close. So if you're standing next to the captain, you need the characters to look really nice. But if you've got 50 of them at the other end of the ship, and we're rendering them all at perfect detail, your computer's going to go stop. Making sort of levels of detail and things like that, so that it renders them a bit smaller. So it's.
What's the most exciting part of this for you? What's the most exciting part of the game for you?
So far, it's been sailing through the fog and being bitten by a giant shark. It's like I'm trying to test a bug with the sea rendering, because that's been another big thing, is getting the sea to be realistic. And Victory Sea, with a nice looking sea, the sunlight reflecting on it and glints on the waves. But for Manowar, we want the sea to really push your ship around. You want to be flung up on the sides of the waves and things like that. I haven't managed to get whirlpools in there yet, but I'm hoping for that.
Is there any sort of element control to it? Is there like any sort of like different sea types to the different continents that you sail to?
Yes, so the climate will change. If you're in Kislev, it's going to be snowy, it's going to be stormy, and it's going to be rainy, and it's going to be miserable. If you sail all the way around to Tilia and Estalia, that's lovely and sunny, and well, most of the time it's lovely and sunny. Yeah. You might get the odd freak storm, but yeah. So we've got a dynamic system sort of looking after all that.
So you could actually find yourself in typhoons. I mean, are we going to find that it's randomised or will there be warning signs? Like, so for example, I'm sailing to Kislev. I'm going from one place which is actually quite beautiful, calm seas. Will there be signs that I can see in the air or the skies and stuff that there's storms approaching?
Yeah, and you should notice a build up as it goes towards the storm. So the waves will start getting choppier and choppier and build up into suddenly big waves. And the sky will suddenly get a bit darker and darker and darker. And then all of a sudden you realise you're being,
Will I have any ways of controlling that with like mages, for example?
Oh yes, you can. There's a glass sea, I think it's one of the spell, and that makes the entire thing completely calm, which is not very good if you've got sails and no oars. So great for the Empire ships, not so good for the Bretonnians.
Yeah.
And you can also conjure up the wind, so the other way around. You can say, well, actually, we want the wind to be behind us, and sort of in the face of the chaos things that are chasing us, and we want to get out of here.
Wow! So you can actually use magic. So you can actually be able to use magic to control weather systems and the sea as well. How will that affect sea creatures?
I imagine it might confuse them a little.
Will I be able to, for example, will I be able to? Is there elements like fishing and stuff like that? Is there any elements of like survival aspects to the game where you can harvest around you, say, whales and stuff like that to create oil and stuff, or do I buy that on land?
Yeah, it's all the trading system's all sort of stuff produced on land that you then transport to other sites. We had pondered having this crew fishing off the side of the boats, but we ran out of animation budget for that.
So how has it been creating the game? Because obviously you're in a room where there's like quite a few of you bashing away on the computers and stuff like that and creating stuff. How's it been? Creating, getting that workflow sorted out and maintaining it, because you're working with people out of here as well, so you're farming bits and pieces out. How has that worked for you?
Yeah, it's difficult, but it's easier than it has been in maybe 10 years ago. It would have been impossible, but these days we've got all sorts of version control systems that let us make sure we're not stepping on each other's toes, or when we do, we know who to blame.
Is that you?
Yes. Usually. And we've got Skype. So we can have face-to-face meetings if we want. Usually, given it's us programmers, we're all just chatting in text because we're all incredibly shy.
But do you find now this is the way it's going? It's like you don't need to be in a massive company to create big licensed games. You can literally be in a situation like this where you're interacting with people all over the world.
Yeah. I mean. I know a number of other indie game developers have sort of they've gone from the first game and then they've gone to the second game and they've gone much bigger, and the teams have been dispersed across the country or multiple countries. It's great. It's amazing. It's really liberating. You don't have to somehow drag people from California to Swindon just to work with them.
So when you were talking about with GW about licensing, why Manowar?
Well, we made a boat game. So we're obviously quite good at making boat games. Manowar's really good because the freedom and the exploration and to being able to sail across the sea, just get that feeling of a big world. It's really great for right ground for making an interesting campaign. So it's with Victory Sea, the bit that I got most excited about was the campaign. So we put you in the Second World War, but you got to do what you wanted and you got to sail about and pick your battles. So with Manowar, we've got something similar. You're a captain. You do what you like. If you want to be a trader and never fight and run away from every battle, you can. You'll get a reputation as being a bit of a chicken.
So does that actually affect the way people interact or characters interact with you, or the computer interacts with you?
Yeah, so we've got a system of fame and infamy. So if you do good things, you get fame. If you do bad things, you get infamy. And there's certain captains, if you want them to join your crew, if you want Blackbeard the Evil, we've got better names. That the writers will come up with actual decent names. I'm a programmer. I put test content. But if you want a really mean, grim, grizzled pirate captain to join you, he's not going to join you if you're just some wimp that's sailing around there, a corsair, picking up food and transporting it around the Empire. I'm not sailing with you. And similarly, if you've been ransacking ships and sinking the Kislev Navy and things like that, you're not going to make friends with the nice, the noble and valiant captains that.
So it's literally how you play the game is how the game reacts back to you.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's absolutely brilliant. Just before we go, then, can you tell us something that we can expect in the game that we shouldn't know about right now? Is there something that you can tell us right now that is going to blow our minds? Can you give us any secrets?
I'm probably not allowed to. I'm trying to think what.
Can you let slip the Dogs of War and tell us a piece of a golden nugget that's in the game that is going to make us go, oh my god?
I don't know how much we've talked about the Cornblood ship, but I just love the claws on it.
I've got to say, I've seen that and I'm really excited by that.
It's terrifying. Just as a model, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So it's the Corn. Fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. Okay, well, listen, thanks very much for joining us today, guys. I'm going to see you soon. Be safe, be good, and take care of yourselves.